iPhone 7 Plus, Apple A10 chipset versus Apple iPad Pro A9X. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here from Everything Tech, helping to master your technology, and welcome to the iPhone 7 Plus with its quad-core A10 Fusion chipset versus Apple's recent fastest device from the iOS camps, the Apple A9X CPU and the iPad Pro 9.7. Now the 12.9-inch iPad Pro was actually the fastest Apple device in clock speed at like 2.23 gigahertz or something. This one was slightly underclocked over that one at 2.16 gigahertz. But the iPhone 7 Plus comes in at 2.34 gigahertz, and all that tech geekery mumbo jumbo means is that it's the fastest mobile iOS device according to the paper. So let's go ahead and boot these devices up at the same time and see what happens here. So let me make sure both are off here and both are off here. So let's go ahead and boot these up in 3, 2, and let's go. And you can see the Apple logo does appear first there on the iPad Pro, but which one will get to the home screen first here in this video? We're gonna find out right here. So the iPhone 7 Plus also gives you 3 gigabytes of random access memory, or you could say RAM. The iPad Pro is going to give you 2 gigs of RAM, and the iPhone 7 Plus ahead there, 1, 2, 3. So about 4 seconds faster than the iPad Pro 9.7, and nice stuff there for the 7 Plus. I mean, with the A10, we would expect, based on the paper, that the iPhone 7 Plus is going to win. So you know what? Let's begin with a Geekbench. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and open up Geekbench application 4 on both devices. So you can see the iPad Pro looked to be ahead there opening it up, but let's go ahead and show you the specs here. So you can see what we already talked about here on the iPhone 7 Plus, 2.34 gigahertz A10 Fusion chip, 3 gigs of RAM. Over here on the iPad Pro, we do have an A9X CPU that's clocked in at 2.26 gigahertz, and that's 1.93 gigs. I think that's a little bit off on the clock speed. Let's go ahead and run a CPU benchmark on both and see what happens here. Now, these should run benchmarks incredibly fast due to the nature of the power of these devices. I mean, these are incredibly fast chipsets here in both devices. In terms of just everyday performance though, neither one of these are gonna let you down. Both of these devices are, you know, well ahead of their time. They're gonna last well into the future. But I'm thinking the 7 Plus might take the win here. I'm gonna pause the video and come back when this test is done running. So they're coming close to a finish, and the iPhone 7 Plus does finish first with a single core score of 3458 and a multi-core score of 5727. So those are massive scores here. Now on the iPad Pro, we do get 3037 and 4893. So wow, there is a pretty significant jump in the scores there of the iPhone 7 Plus over the iPad Pro, especially in the multi-core score with its quad-core CPU. But that's just what is shown technically on paper here. What about actually in the application test? Well, let's go home here, and you're gonna see the iPhone 7 Plus or 7, whatever one you have, is gonna go home quicker than any iOS device with a physical home button, because that's why they changed it to a capacitive home button, because it's just quicker. It responds to the electrical impulses in your finger, not the physical press of, you know, an actual physical object. So let's go ahead and begin with the app test now. So everything is closed out on both devices, and before I begin the app test, let me just go ahead and confirm the software here on both of these devices. If I go into software update, you can see I am running iOS 10.2.1 here on the iPad Pro 9.7, the latest official version. Let me go ahead and close that out now so you can see everything's closed over there on the iPad Pro. If I go over here in the settings on the iPad Pro or on the iPhone 7 Plus, you can see I am rocking out with software version iOS 10.2.1 there for that device. Everything's closed out here, as you can see. And let's begin with our applications test. Let's begin with the calendar on both devices. And you can see that look like the 7 Plus. Let's come home here. Let's go into the camera. And look like the iPad Pro, you know, beat the 7 Plus there. A little bit shocking there. So let's come home here. And let's go into clock. and it looked about the same there. So you can see that this iPad Pro is one beast of a machine here. So if you're looking for a beast tablet, this is the best one on the market in my personal opinion, and a lot of people think that as well. So let's come home here and let's go into YouTube. And you can see the 7 Plus slightly ahead, but you got to remember the iPad Pro's got to load much more content on that screen than the 7 Plus. So let's go to my videos on both of these, and let's go to my videos. And you've seen, let's see which one will play a video first. So it looked like the 7 Plus started playing this advertisement first, so I'm gonna give this one to the 7 Plus. But you can see both are rocket fast here in terms of playing a video. Now both have stereo speakers, but the iPad Pros are much louder than the iPhone 7 Plus. They both have great stereo speakers though, but like I say, much more crisp, deeper bass, and much louder here for the iPhone or the iPad Pro 9.7's speaker here. They're just much louder and much better. So if you're looking for a device purely for the speakers, go with the iPad Pro. Going to the Apple Geek, and I'm sure even the 12.9 one is even louder than this guy right here. So you've seen, I don't know what's going on here on the iPad Pro, but the iPhone 7 Plus is getting the win there. Let's head over into the App Store now. And you can see, look like the 7 Plus slightly ahead there. Let's go home here and let's go into the settings. And that looked about the same. Let's come home here. Let's go into Twitter. I think the 7 Plus is slightly faster in everything it does just because of its, capacitive home button. The ability to go home quicker and then hop into another app gives you an edge over the, the physical press. So let's go into Safari. And let's go into Yahoo on both devices. Yahoo.com. Let's go to Yahoo.com here on both and let's go. And you can see it looked like the iPad Pro won that test, so we're gonna give that one to the iPad Pro. Let's come home here. Let's go into eBay. And you can see it looked like the iPad Pro lost that test and still waiting to load some content here on the right, unless it's just not gonna load that content, who knows. But pretty close test nonetheless. Let's come home. Let's go into Amazon. And you can see iPhone 7 Plus again. So I'm giving that one to the 7 Plus. Let's go into Instagram. But honestly guys, day to day, both of these devices, they feel exactly the same in terms of performance. I mean, who's really gonna notice a couple of seconds? You can go ahead and follow me on Instagram if you like. That's the username, link down below in the description. But like I say, these devices are like identical. Like I said, I think the iPhone 7 Plus day to day is a bit snappier. But the iPad Pro is just buttery smooth. The 9.7 edition is just buttery smooth and just runs really well. So that wasn't about a tie there on Lightroom. Let's come home here. Let's do a speed test now. Let's see who's pulling in better Wi-Fi speeds here. Now the iPhone 7 Plus should have the best Wi-Fi strength of any smartphone, especially considering its price tag. So let's see what happens here. On the testing for the 7 Plus, download speeds. Bringing in about 85, 87, 88 on the down. Let's see what happens on the up for the 7 Plus. Okay, bringing in about 10 to 11 down. Now this is dependent on your internet connection, but I do have decently fast internet as you can see right here. So it's pulling in pretty solid speeds here, almost 12 on the upload. Let's see what we're gonna get over here on the iPad Pro. 12.30 on the upload for the iPhone 7 Plus. Let's go over here on the iPad Pro. And let it prepare, and this should also have some of the fastest Wi-Fi speeds of any mobile device. So let's see what happens here. Okay, shut me up. I don't know what's going on with the iPad Pro, bringing in way less speeds here, both connected to the same Wi-Fi network, and bringing in way less speeds here. Very strange here for the iPad Pro. Let's see what happens on the upload. About the same on the upload. Actually a little bit more on the upload honestly here for the iPad Pro. So this test is definitely going to go for a win on the download to the 7 Plus and on the upload a win for the iPad Pro here at 12.26 megabytes. Let's go into Play Newsstand now on both. And you've seen the iPhone 7 Plus rocketing ahead. What a little fast phone that little 7 Plus is, isn't it? Let's come home here. Let's go into Apple Store. And you can see both asking for annoying Bluetooth settings. So let's just hit OK, let's hit OK. About the same on both devices, let's just the Mac icon right here and come home, about the same there. Let's go into Temple Run. And the 7 Plus is probably the faster gamer here, and it's just due to its smaller size. Now, I think if you put the same A9X CPU in the 7 Plus, it would be probably almost identical in this test. I think the only reason the 7 Plus is hair and ahead here over the iPhone or the iPad Pro 9.7 is not just because it's a quad-core CPU, it's also, I think, because of its 1920 by 1080p display, it also being a smaller display, having to push less pixels than the iPad Pro 9.7. But this test just goes to show that the iPad Pro 9.7 is a beast of a device. It's going to remain a beast of a device for a long time here going into the future, and I think it's actually the best Apple experience you can get right now for iOS. Yes, it's not portable, it's not convenient, you can't take it around everywhere, but I mean, it's just one of the best iOS experiences, hands down. I mean, you get this big slate to play with Apple's best, iOS version 10.2.1, and in terms of the win, the iPhone 7 Plus is getting the win here in this speed test. But overall, both great devices. It could be a great companion device if you got something like an iPhone SE and you want a larger screen. But if you got a 7 Plus, I don't think it's necessary to buy an iPad Pro 9.7 unless you want something to lay in bed and read and you just don't want a small phone. But at nighttime, you turn the iPhone 7 Plus into the landscape mode and it feels like a little iPad mini. So it's really a big screen in the real world over, like an iPhone SE or an iPhone 6. Even the smaller iPhones are much smaller than the 7 Plus. So yeah, that pretty much wraps this comparison up of the iPhone 7 Plus versus the iPad Pro 9.7 on iOS 10.2.1. What are your guys' thoughts? Which would you go with? Would you like to have both of these as a companion device? iPad Pro as a companion device to your iPhone 7 Plus? Would you rather just have an iPad Pro with a 3G or 4G LTE connection and just skip iPhone altogether, keep your Android? How would you want to use an iPad ecosystem, or would you not? Would you just say iPhone all day, forget iPad, which a lot of people do think that way, and that's why iPad sales are struggling? Let us know down below in the comment section. Let's chat about that. This was Nick here, up in the Master Your Technology. Like the video if you enjoyed it. I will catch you all in the next one. Be sure to be well, and peace.